February 24th, 2022. What if the deadliest weapon in a modern war wasn't a missile, but a secret no one believed existed? A quiet shipment that slipped through the shadows while the world watched explosions on TV. And somewhere in the freezing dark, a medic held a soldier together with shaking hands as something far more terrifying than bullets crept closer. The war in Ukraine didn't just begin with tanks rolling across borders on that cold morning. It began years earlier in whispers in back-channel deals, and in silent alliances that would eventually shape the battlefield in ways even seasoned generals didn't anticipate. Because while the world focused on Russia's overwhelming firepower, something unexpected was taking form behind the scenes. A coordinated effort where the United States and Japan, bound by strategic interests and rising geopolitical tension, began supplying Ukraine with highly specialized defensive systems, surveillance technology, and non-lethal equipment that would later redefine survival itself on the front lines. And by late 2022 into early 2023, reports confirmed that Japan, historically restrained by its pacifist constitution, had shifted policy to provide military aid, including protective gear, drones, and advanced communication systems, while the U.S. expanded deliveries of precision-guided weapons like HIMARS starting June 2022, quietly changing the rhythm of war, turning what was expected to be a swift invasion into a grinding nightmare. And this is where the human stories begin to cut deeper than any headline, because on October 14, 2023, near Avdiivka, one of the most brutal and contested zones, a Ukrainian combat medic known only by his call sign Ghost Lantern crawled through mud thick with blood and debris to reach a wounded soldier pinned under a shattered vehicle. The air filled with the metallic scream of incoming artillery. And what made this moment chilling wasn't just the chaos, but what he later described. A silence between shell impacts where he swore he could hear voices, not from radios but from the bodies scattered around him. A psychological horror born from exhaustion, trauma, and the unbearable weight of survival. And still he pressed on, using newly supplied thermal imaging gear, equipment traced back to Western support networks, to locate survivors in near-zero visibility, proving that these secret supplies weren't just tools of war, they were lifelines in hell itself. And by January 2024, Ukraine's use of coordinated drone surveillance, much of it enhanced through international support, including Japanese optics and U.S. software integration, allowed small units to anticipate ambushes, turning hunted soldiers into hunters. Yet even with this advantage, the war never lost its terror, because soldiers began reporting a phenomenon they called the frozen hour. Moments during night operations where everything would go eerily still. No gunfire, no drones, just the wind and the distant creak of ruined buildings. And in those moments, medics often faced their worst fears, tending to the wounded while imagining footsteps behind them, knowing enemy forces could strike at any second. And one such incident on March 3, 2024, near Bakhmut, involved a medic team trapped in a collapsed trench, where for 6 hours they worked in darkness, using only dim red lights to avoid detection, stitching wounds, whispering reassurances. And at one point, one of them started laughing uncontrollably. Not from humor, but from the sheer psychological strain. A moment that later went viral among troops as a grim inside joke. Because sometimes laughter is the only thing keeping you from breaking completely. And this blend of horror and resilience is what defines the hidden side of this war. The side where secret aid shipments translate into one more night survived, one more life saved, one more chance to push back. And by mid-2024, analysts confirmed that these combined efforts had significantly slowed Russian advances, forcing a shift in tactics and prolonging the conflict far beyond initial expectations, proving that what Putin never saw coming wasn't just weapons, but the sheer adaptability and endurance fueled by global support. Yet behind every strategic success lies a personal story. A medic under fire, a soldier gripping life by a thread, a moment where courage and fear collide in the darkest way possible. And if you've ever wondered what it truly feels like to stand in that chaos, to hear the silence between explosions and keep moving anyway, drop your thoughts below. Share this with someone who needs to understand the real cost of war, because the question still lingers. In those silent, frozen moments on the battlefield, who or what is really watching from the dark?